Hi, 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 and hey, and welcome to another edition of Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles videocast. This is a bi-weekly show, well, most of the time, and we have it Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, in which we talk about the solo careers of the Beatles, but there are times when we'll cover the group, especially in light of all that's happened in the last month or so with the Let It Be box set and Get Back documentary. I'm Ken Michaels. I'm one of the four regular co-hosts. And hopefully you're familiar with my syndicated Beatles radio show, which is called Every Little Thing, which runs on 50 radio stations. Every single day somewhere, you can catch my show on the internet.
Wow.
And in addition to that, I also co-host another Beatles podcast called Things We Said Today, which is a bi-weekly show in which we cover everything Beatles and solo in that show as well. And I also have my own YouTube channel, which is all Beatles centric as well. One-on-one interviews with people in the Beatle world. And I'm being joined, as I always am, with my three esteemed colleagues here. And let me introduce them to you all. First of all, we have, without a doubt, the woman who is the queen of Beatles social media, and she's also the author of the book Songs We Were Singing, Guided Tours of the Beatles' Lesser Known Tracks, Michael Jackson FAQ, All That's Left to Know About the King of Pop, and also the Beatles and Fandom, which I have somewhere here. Usually Tom has it
Well,
ready.
I figured, I'll let you do some work.
I got the other one.
Okay. That's okay. I've got it.
Which she collaborated on with one of our colleagues, Ken Womack.
Yes.
And in addition to all that, she also teaches courses online for Motown, for Stevie Wonder, and recently with Ken Womack, a class on Band on the Run, the album. Very cool. Let's welcome Kit O'Toole.
Hello.
Hey, Kit.
Hello. There we go. Hello.
I love the outfit.
Hello, or ho, ho, ho. Which one is it?
Well, I've got my Beatles ugly Christmas sweater on, which I break out only once a year. What can I do? And so I'm in the spirit. Hello, Ken, Tom, and Joe, and hello everybody out there. And glad to be with you all tonight.
It's a great time of year, kid. This people still like hustle and bustle, but they don't do it like they do other times of year. They bump into you, they say, "Excuse me." Everybody's a lot more friendly this time of year.
Absolutely,
that's very true.
Very true.
And I just like last year, I bought Joe a pair of spats for Christmas.
Spats. What are they gonna do with spats?
He's a guy that's got everything, so I had to think of something else.
Very true. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Kit, you can't fit Beatles and ugly in the same sentence. There's no such thing as an ugly.
That's true. That's true. Okay. Yeah, it's a beautiful sweater.
Oh, okay. Also, we have one of two hosts of the Two Legs solo Paul McCartney podcast, along with Danny Nichols. He's always busy cranking out one good show after another, and that's Tom Agnotti. Hi, Tom.
Hello, Ken, Joe, Kit. Been a fantastic year, and another expensive one for sure.
Wow, a lot of stuff.
No kidding.
I try not to add up, exactly how much I spend on these four lads from Liverpool, and I probably never will. But I hope
would scare you.
Yeah, it would definitely. So I won't.
All right. And also, my other co-host is Joe Mayo. You know him as Mean Mr. Mayo. He has his own YouTube channel in which he talks about everything in pop culture, does quite a lot on the Beatles. He has his own Fab Gab feature in which he rates tracks from Beatle and solo Beatle albums. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Ken. Thank you very much. Hello, Tom, and hello, Kit. I'm so excited to be here to talk about all these 2021 masterpieces that came out, and some not so much, but some big stuff and big bucks this year.
Yeah. Well, going back to my early years when I was only in radio, one of the things I used to do on my radio program in New Jersey on WDHA at the end of the year, I would have a year in review show, very often with Al Sussman, who's a frequent guest on our show, and Tom Frangione, who, as you know, is busy on the Sirius XM channel. And so we would look back at the previous year and talk about highlights of that year. And also, we'd also discuss what we'd hope for in the following year, our wish list.
Hope for the future.
So, yep, very good, Tom.
And I want to say that there was a very good episode. I finally got around to watching one of your recent episodes on your Ken Michaels radio show with Tom and Al, and enjoyed that very much.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was
a
good.
good one. I saw
It was nice. It was the first time that all three of us had a discussion together, and only the three of us, because Al has been on our show. Tom was on, Tom was on Things We Said Today.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it was great. It's just like, putting on an old pair of shoes.
The old brown
So
one?
comfortable.
Yeah.
He's quick tonight. He really is.
Yeah, he's on fire.
I was
dude.
trying to think of another shoe song, but I can't.
But anyway, so that's what we'll be doing tonight, looking back at the previous year, talking about what our favorite moments were and releases, and also what our wish list would be for 2022. And by all means, if any of you would like to comment about this past year and what you'd like to see next year, please do so. And hopefully we'll get to read some of those comments on the show. We start off the show usually with Beatle news, and such is the case tonight. Not as much as in previous weeks, but I'll get to it right now. The Beatles' Let It Be album has been supercharged by the showing of the docuseries Get Back, and it has catapulted from number 80 to number 19 on Billboard's top 200 album charts.
Wow.
And it sits atop at number 1 on Billboard's top rock albums chart, where the group is exploding with other titles. Abbey Road is at number 3. The number 1 compilation is at 26, and the White Album is at number 45. So don't confuse those two charts. It can be confusing at times.
Yeah.
The Beatles are not at number 1 on the top 200 album charts, but on the rock album charts, they're at number 1. And other chart news, on the British singles charts, Christmas is back in full swing with Paul's Wonderful Christmas Time as the number 29 single. And John and Yoko's Happy Christmas is at 35. While both those holiday classics are nowhere to be seen so far on our charts on Billboard's Hot 100. Speaking of classic Christmas songs, Wonderful Christmas Time has been covered by the very popular a cappella group Pentatonix. It's on their new album called Evergreen, and you can find several performances of the group doing Paul's song on YouTube. Okay. Also, to mark the 50th anniversary, back on December 7th, of the release of the first Wings album, Wildlife, Universal Music and MPL have announced that, like the first McCartney album and Ram, they will issue a 50th anniversary half-speed mastered vinyl edition coming out February 4th next year. While for many years the album had a reputation for being one of McCartney's weakest albums, it has gained somewhat in stature, with tracks like Dear Friend, Tomorrow, Some People Never Know, and the title track getting more appreciation. The reissue on vinyl was cut at half speed at Abbey Road Studios using a high-resolution transfer of the original 1971 master tapes. You were waiting for that, weren't you, Tom?
Absolutely. I knew it would happen. It's just unfortunate that, the vinyl, the boom has just expanded so much. And then there's just so little record companies now that acts are waiting 6 months to 12 months to actually get their stuff pressed. So, I mean, it makes sense that they would announce it, but then it comes, a few months later, as is a bunch of releases. Ringo's Change the World. We got the CD release, but we had to wait for Olivia Newton-John's physical reissue. The CD was released, but the album's coming out next year as well. So, but it's nice to see that get recognized as well. It's been out of print, so people are thinking cash grab, but no, these titles need to be in print. Other people need to get a chance to buy these records as well. Yeah,
you're always going to have those people complaining about cash grabs.
Hey, anything that the Beatles have done, group or solo, is of historical importance. So everything should remain in print. At least that's how I feel.
Exactly.
And just in time to celebrate Wildlife's 50th anniversary, a new recording was made.
Yes.
Some People Never Know. From the team that brought the tribute to Ram album, Ramon, that's Fernando Perdomo and Denny Sywell, the original drummer on Ram and the first drummer for Wings, who played on the Wildlife album. On this new version, Denny plays the original snare and cymbal he used on the original recording. And Fernando plays guitars, bass, keyboards, and percussion. And Adrian Bourgeois handles all the vocals. You can stream and download the track for just $1 at Fernando's Bandcamp page. Very nice.
I hope you pick a winner with it.
I thought it was an excellent rendition of the track. They did a fantastic job with that. Great cover.
Yeah, and I know how much you love that song, Tom.
Oh, yes. Yep.
It's
was very pleased. Song. It is.
Yeah. I love the melody and great harmony work throughout.
Yeah.
Some people never know the Wings version. Also, thanks to Tom, who sent me this like 10 seconds before the show starts. Thank you, Tom. Paul's Wings bass sold at a gigantic auction of guitars and other memorabilia to aid Music Rising, a charity started by U2's The Edge and producer Bob Ezrin that helps New Orleans musicians impacted by COVID-19 and by Hurricane Ida. Paul's bass sold for $471,900, breaking the auction price record for bass guitars.
Wow.
All right.
And the previous record holder was Bill Wyman.
That's true.
Oh.
All right.
Wow.
We all know Paul has to break every record. So that's just another one under his belt.
There you go.
Ringo Starr's concert at the Paramount Theater in Asbury Park, New Jersey, scheduled for May 31st next year to kick off his concert tour, has been canceled. The show's promoter, AM Productions, is saying that the operators of the venue, Madison Marquette, report that the theater is being closed out of safety concerns and other issues raised this past August. Refunds will be available at the point of purchase. Should everything return back to normal after delays from COVID, the first concert for Ringo next year would be June the 2nd at the Wang Theater in Boston. And thanks to my lovely wife, Joanne, who says I never give her any credit whatsoever, and I'm doing it now, okay? Joe Walsh of the Eagles will host his 5th annual Vets Aid concert on December 18th. The live stream will feature the debut of brand new music with performances from Joe Walsh and the band, along with special guests, including Ringo Starr. All net proceeds from this event will go directly to the Veteran Services charities. And to date, Vets Aid has raised nearly $1.8 million to organizations that support veterans and their families.
Wow. That's impressive.
And yeah, I went to one of the concerts at Mohegan Sun several years ago with Joe Walsh there. Fantastic performance. And yeah, that's all the news. And I thought before we get into our show tonight, looking back at the previous year and also what we'd like to see in the coming year, we have to make mention of the passing of Michael Nesmith at the age of 78. No doubt, so many Beatle fans are Monkees fans. And so many of us watching this show right now are feeling it. It's hard for me to believe it was only 2 years ago we were talking about Peter Tork passing away. So if you guys would like to say some words about Michael Nesmith, I know, Kit, you posted something really nice on Facebook with a great photo of you with Michael.
Yes. Yeah, this one really hurt. I am a big fan. I've admired him for such a long time. I mean, this is a guy who was so ahead of the curve all the time. You know, not just as part of the Monkees, but as you know, kind of a pioneer. Not kind of, he was a pioneer in country rock. I mean, before the Eagles were huge, he was there first. You know, with the first national band. He was a pioneer in music video. I mean, he basically, you know, was because of partially because of him that MTV came about. You know, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Elephant Parts, the incredible video album that he came up with, and you know, people talk today about, Beyonce being such a creative person because she did a video, 2 video albums in the last 10 years. Well, that wouldn't have happened without Michael Nesmith. I mean, he did it. He did that first too. He just multimedia, when he came out with his novel The Prison in 74, I think it was, he had a soundtrack that went with it, an album, and critics slammed it at the time. Years later, that he really was credited for having this kind of early multimedia, reading and listening experience. And, he just didn't care, what critics thought. And oftentimes, as I said, he was ahead of the curve. I got to see him with Mickey and Peter. And I think that was in 2013, I want to say. I think it was that tour. And then I saw him twice on a solo tour. In like one in 2012. I think it was like about a year before that tour. And he was incredible. He just was a wonderful voice, and I got to meet him. And I posted a picture on my Facebook page of the two of us. And I got to tell him, how much I admired him and really, just took his, his independent spirit, as really kind of a mantra for myself too. And he was so gracious, and met with everybody at that meet and greet, spent time with everybody, signed autographs, took pictures, just couldn't have been nicer to everybody there. And I just am so grateful that I got to meet him. And what a unique person he was, what a creative person he was. So when I heard the news, I just this one hurt. This one really hurts.
Yeah, from what I understand, the people who follow the Monkees and follow Mike were aware of how ill he was, because he did have quadruple bypass surgery not that long ago. But
18.
And I just saw the tour with Mickey and Mike at Mohegan Sun, as a matter of fact. And it was a tremendous show. It was very emotional. Everybody kind of felt like, this is it. This is the last we're going to see. But I don't think anybody knew that it would be so soon right after this tour that Mike would pass away.
Yeah, that's what I kind of got the sense that, I mean, I wasn't 100% surprised when I heard the news, but because I had heard that too, that he was pretty frail and but this soon, wow.
When I was a kid, I mostly enjoyed the songs by Mickey Dolenz more, I think, and Davy Jones. Then when I got older, I really appreciated the Mike Nesmith songs, like "You Just May Be the One," "Sweet Young Thing," "Listen to the Band," and on and on. I really enjoyed it. I listened to some of his solo stuff and liked a lot of that too. And I'm glad I got a chance to see him, because the first time I saw the Monkees probably was in 2000 or the early 2000s, and at that time Mike wasn't in the group. It was just Davy, Mickey, and Peter. But then, as Kit says, later on, in the 20 teens, maybe something like that, early 2013, 2014, I don't know. I got to see it, the Monkees, but it had, this time Davy had already passed, unfortunately, but I got to see Mike finally with Peter and Mickey. So I'm glad that I had a chance to see him as well. And these days, I'm a big fan. I regret that I never had the chance to. Well, I had a chance, but I never got to meet him. I wish I had met him.
Yeah. Tom, any thoughts?
Well, people know me. Know I'm not, the biggest Monkey fan, but I'll tell you what. I was rewatching some stuff earlier today, and I do admire Mike Nesmith's career, his solo career, and I definitely admire him and the others fighting for their the credibility, if you want, for being in the Monkees, for playing their own instruments and writing their own songs. You know, I admire them very much for trying to take charge and getting that right to be a player on their own songs and to write their own songs and stuff like that. So I definitely admire that. And you know, he kind of almost kickstarted Linda Ronstadt's career with a different drum. You know, so you gotta give him credit for that as well. But
a lot of people don't know that. Well, some people don't know that he wrote that song.
Right.
Yeah. But you know,
great songwriter.
I do kind of get vocal when somebody knows they're not doing well and they go out on tour anyways. Like we mentioned, the triple bypass they had in 18. Now I have 2 family members that have had triple bypass surgeries. I know the toll it takes on a person's body, especially somebody in their 70s. You know, so I could tell in pictures that, you know, he did look for kind of frail. You know, he looked like he was sitting down quite a bit.
Yeah.
Ken, I mean, was he sitting down a lot? You know,
during my show, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And Mickey was coaxing him quite a lot throughout the show to get up and talk and say things.
Right. And Mickey has said that, you know, he wouldn't have missed this tour for anything, which is fine. Right. But, you know, in a way, you know, I'm glad for people got an opportunity to see them one more time. You know, I know how much the Monkees mean to a lot of people, especially in the Beatles community. I get that. But in a way, too, I kind of feel, well, is it selfish a little bit? I mean, should he be spending more time with his family if he knows that doesn't have that much longer? You know, kind of like the Charlie Watts situation, too. You know, he knew he wasn't doing well, but he still wanted to go out on tour anyways, you know. So, but I mean, that's another story. But I do respect the man. Absolutely.
Sometimes it works the other way. It's because you go out there and you perform, it kind of energizes people and gives them more of a reason to keep going. So you never know how it's going to affect.
Right.
You know,
people, I've seen some interviews and people were saying, thankfully, that at the end it seemed that Mike had finally really appreciated the Monkees and really got the whole thing and why people love the Monkees.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that he realized that.
Right.
Yep. Brief story. Some of you know this story, but some of you watching may not be friends with me on Facebook. But I had a little personal encounter with him too. That years ago, I wrote for a blog called Blog Critics, which was kind of an online magazine, and I'd been asked to write a review of a book, which was kind of a 70s coming of age novel, and when I got the book and I got the press release with it, it claimed to be the first book with a soundtrack. And so when I wrote the review, I said, oh, by the way, that's not true. And I wrote about the prison, you know, about Mike Nesmith's book. So the article ran. That was great. You know, months later, a friend of mine and many of ours, Jory Grayson, who was a big fan of Mike's and also took many photos of Paul McCartney. She's a professional photographer. When Paul and Linda would come to Chicago for concerts and various events, she took some beautiful photos of them. Some of them ended up on some of Paul's live albums. So anyway, so she messaged me and said, go to Mike's Facebook page right now. And I'm like, okay, you know, what's this about? So I went to it, and Mike had written this long post and talking about my review. Somebody must have pointed it out to him and said that I had talked, you know, that I'd mentioned the prison, and he thanked me for mentioning it, and then went into this whole post about how he had created this book and the album and how critics didn't understand it at the time. And, you know, and so I thought, well, you know, doesn't get better than this. Downhill from here, you know, and
top of the world, Ma.
I know. I just thought, good God. And so then months after that was the first time he came for his solo concert at the Old Town School of Folk Music, and that's when I met him. And so when I went up to him, I said, "Remember that article?" I said, "I wrote that," and he said, "Thank you for defending me." And so it was, So again, I remember walking out of there. I don't remember much of what happened after that. I just thought, well, you know, that's again, it doesn't get better than this. So.
How great to know that he was aware of you.
Yeah.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, that
Yeah.
was,
How
I mean,
rewarding.
I'm like, I've got to grab this moment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I can tell you, I don't know if my wife will want me to tell everybody this, but she's going to be a bigger star in this show. Who knows?
Yeah, you
No,
But
when you
her
start a
name-
story, when you
her-
start a story with, I don't know if my wife would like this, maybe.
You have to follow through.
but
Mhm.
What's-
my wife's name happens to be Joanne,
Mm.
which is
I
the
like-
name of Michael Nesmith's song, which was his
beautiful
only
song.
really top 40 hit as a solo artist. Only
Mhm.
he spelled it Joanne,
Yeah.
and my wife spells it JOANN.
Ah.
Mhm.
And several years ago, when Mike put out a book, my wife went to the book signing, and so he was about to sign her name, and she said to Mike, you spelled Joanne wrong, you know, you know. And Mike said to her, no, you spelled it wrong.
Which is true, really.
So,
Uh,
but she always has that little memory
mm,
of
Yeah.
when that happened. So, which is
Great
great.
guy.
very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool.
But I'm just going to say, I don't claim to be a Monkees expert. And I really don't know their solo music that well, but I know most of what they did as a band. And I've always loved their music from the very beginning. And I love it more now than I ever have. I think their catalog is so superb. And part of the reason why is because of all the great songwriters that they had, that just people who knew their craft, everybody from Neil Diamond to Neil
Mm.
Sedaka to Carole King and Jerry Goffin to Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil and David Gates and Paul Williams wrote a song for them. But apart from all that, the Monkees still wrote their music. Mike wrote the most, and he really was more of a pioneer at integrating country music into rock. He
Mm.
wasn't the only one that did that. In fact, the Beatles did it too.
Sure.
With rockabilly and doing stuff like "I Don't Want to Spoil the Party" and "Act Naturally" and songs like that. And many of their original songs were influenced by country music with the Beatles. But the stuff that Mike was writing, even going back to Papa Jean's Blues on the first album,
Yeah.
that's
Great
country
song.
rock right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
heard well, one of the shows that I was watching is they gave him on those first two albums, they gave him two songs on an
Mm.
album just to kind of shut him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yep.
Mm.
But I'm glad you mentioned "You Just May Be the One," Joe. That's
Yeah,
one
I
of my
love that.
favorites.
Love that song.
And "While I Cry" is a beautiful song that was done in concert at this last tour,
Oh,
performed magnificently by
Oh.
Michael. So
wow.
he will be sorely missed for sure.
Sure will. Mm.
So anyway, our
Hmm.
show tonight is really to look back at 2021. What a year! It's
Wow.
been a great year, Beatle peoples. Did I mess that up?
Yeah.
But it's
No.
I think I did.
It's been a
Anyway,
whatever.
so instead of going through every major release and going in depth, as we've done throughout the year for each
Yeah,
release, I
Right.
thought that I would mention some of the most important, really the most important ones, and we'll also touch upon some other releases that came out. But as far as just the music itself, we had the Plastic Ono Band box set and book,
Yep.
All Things Must Pass box set, Let It Be box set and Get Back book, the McCartney lyrics book, the Get Back documentary, Ringo's 2 EPs, Zoom In and Change the World, plus what was just released digitally was that song, that charity song in which he covers See You Later, Alligator.
Mhm.
So actually, Ringo released 10 songs in the past year. And the McCartney 3 Imagined releases. So what I thought we'd do is go around the table here, the imaginary table, and find out from each of you guys what were your favorite of all these releases. You don't have to do it as though it's a top 5 or a top 10 or anything,
Right.
but why don't we start with Joe?
Well, I don't know. I guess it doesn't count. The Peter Jackson Get Back docuseries is my favorite thing all year.
Of course
But-
it counts. I mentioned.
Oh, it does. Well, okay. Well, then that's
I-
my very
yeah.
favorite thing.
Yeah,
You know, of Beatles material, things that happened
Hmm.
Beatle-wise in 2021. That's my very favorite. Of course, we said a lot about that on our show. And the Get Back book that went with it. I really loved that because it had really good photos to go with each day, and also the transcribing of what was said was terrific.
Mm-hmm.
I think being a John Lennon fan, first and foremost for all the Beatles, I guess I really love the Plastic Ono Band box set of CDs and the book. That was really terrific, and I think you get so much bang for the buck with Lennon stuff so far. So many different presentations, too much to take in. Sometimes you got to really have some days to really listen to it all. The evolution
Sure.
of the songs and whatnot. It was amazing after a while. I was like, I need a break from this. Then I went back to it. But yeah, it was really good. Um, I got to say, the Paul McCartney lyrics book,
Mhm.
1956 to the present at first, which I wasn't going to get, and I wound up getting it. Yeah, well, we said a lot about that in our show as well, and I want to save stuff for other people. I don't want to go through everything, but I admire the way Paul talks about the inspirations for certain songs and how he gives credit where it's due for certain things. And I didn't even mind him in this instance putting McCartney first because I thought for this particular project it was important to get it on the record of what he felt was he was a chief composer when it came to Beatles songs,
Mhm.
perhaps.
Right.
Now, I'm looking at my list here. I enjoyed Ringo's first EP a lot, Zoom In. I really thought that was really good and consistent all the way through. I've come to really enjoy the second one, Change the World. Although when we did our show, I wasn't that keen on it as much. I like it better now than I did then. But I think Zoom In was the one that really impressed me, the first one.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
I guess I'm supposed to throw in. I feel obligated to say something about the Uber box of George Harrison. All things must pass, just to rub in those gnomes a little bit more. It came with the
Th-
gnomes.
Thanks.
Uh, you know, that what can I say?
Here it
Very
comes.
Oh,
expensive.
you had to do it,
I knew
Joe.
it. It was going
You
to happen.
had to
Mhm.
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. Tom's got him, and yeah, very, very expensive, but chock full of goodies, and a really good representation of that classic album. Yeah, and I'm going to also say that the list that I had, I think Kit helped us out, right? Kit, you gave us the list of everything released,
Mm.
folks. I got maybe like 25% of it. So all those people out there that say he has to get everything, I have about 25%, maybe 50% at best of everything that came out. It seems I didn't get every little thing, so that's
Mm.
it for me at this point.
Okay. Well, this was a really eventful year in a lot of ways. Before I go to Tom and Kit, so many box sets, a very expensive year, and that's without a McCartney box set.
Mm.
So, ever since Paul started putting out his archival box sets in 2010 with Ben on the Run, most years he's put out something,
Right.
but this year he let it slide
Hmm.
to make way for John and George's and also for the Beatles box set. So, but we still had so much and a lot to digest. I mean, it takes a while to get to know all the discs on the Plastic Ono Band
Right.
box set. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
Tom, how about you? You're
Well,
next.
he did give us a lot though, because when you think of, we got the Ram Half Speed Master, we got the Grand Dude book, we got the lyrics book, we got the McCartney 3 Imagine, we got the later edition of McCartney 3 from Third Man the Yellow, the
Wow.
splatter. So yeah, in reality, we did get quite a bit from Paul, but I do wish that we would have gotten an archive set because I mean those are, let's face it, those are really stuff that people want. But hopefully next year. But wow, this year. I'll start with I really, even though there were some inaccuracies during the episodes, what was it, 6 episodes? The McCartney 321 was very it was very enjoyable. Just hearing him talk about these songs and then the other aspects of the songs, the other individuals that helped influence these songs, and seeing them in those shows as well was really cool and well done by Rick Rubin and his team. So kudos to you there. The Get Back is the Get Back. Joe, you already said a bunch on that, so I'll stop there. But the best, in my opinion, the best box set of this year was definitely the Plastic Ono Band. You got the best bang for your buck. All of those different versions of of the whole of the songs are great. The raw studio mixes, the elements, the demos, the ultimate mixes. This was just a well done job, and hopefully these keep coming. And I think Sean kind of spilled the beans a little bit a couple months ago about we can expect next year. But this is definitely the best box set, I think, by far. The lyrics book, again, much better than I was expecting. I thought we would hear a lot of the same old stories, the gifts that keep on coming, but we really got some good info from Paul, and he just goes in so many different directions. It's just really fascinating, to his mindset for a lot of these stories, and what he was thinking of so many past stories that we talked about during that show. Let's see here. All Things Must Pass set. It was just so much stuff and a lot to take in, and good sounding stuff. And then the Ken and Krupa book to go with it was a great companion piece to go with that. This guy right here. Now, I haven't gotten to all of it yet. I'm probably like 50 pages in, but every page that I'm reading is this book has just been it's the be all to end all books on the Beatles and Hamburg. And if you didn't get this book, I mean, it's unfortunate, but and I know it was expensive, trust me, it was. But it was definitely a must-have in the Beatles world. So, but I'm still enjoying McCartney 3. So I loved when that splatter got announced. Go ahead.
That's another thing. McCartney 3 came out in December of last year, so it really carried over.
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
because I was still getting stuff after that, and because I ordered so many copies of them, I was still getting some, after the new year. Yeah, and we can't forget.
And of course, this was the absolute best thing of 2021. Really, I saved it for surprise.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Your check's in the mail.
Yeah.
And I was going to just do a whole. We're going to talk just about the books, but at any time if you want to bring up the books, you can do so. But when I was referring to new McCartney, I meant completely new music instead of all different versions, for collectors. But certainly much to your delight there, Tom. Plenty to collect. Kit, how about you?
Yes, well, and yes, as Joe just showed on a personal note, Ken and I had that book come out. That was a real thrill for us. We've been working on it a long time. So on a personal note, that was certainly a highlight for me. As far as rest of it, the All Things Must Pass box set, I was really looking forward to that this year, and it certainly didn't disappoint. It was just chock full of the demos and the outtakes, and just beautifully presented, and as you said, Tom, the book that Ken Womack and Jason Krupa put out kind of was perfect timing, because it is a really good companion to the box set, and really gives new insight as to just how hard George worked on that album, and the kind of the self-doubt he went through at times, but then other times how he that Phil Spector didn't just completely control that project. I mean, there were times where Phil wasn't there, and George was was really directing things, and so that was a great surprise. Another great surprise, besides box sets, I loved that Ramon tribute album. That was one of the biggest surprises. Thank you for showing that up. But one of the biggest surprises of the year for me, because normally I know I said this a bunch of times early on when we did shows about it, that tribute albums can be hit or miss. They can. but Fernando and Denny Seiwell did a phenomenal job. And to me, it really gave me a new view on the Ram album, because I didn't always like every single track on Ram, to be honest with you. But after hearing that album, it really put the original album in a whole new light for me. I just loved the interpretations on there, and I just thought they did just a great service to the original, and it just was so well done. Clearly every artist on that album loved Ram and wanted to just pay loving homage to it. So I loved that album. That was one of the biggest surprises of the year for me. So definite highlight. I agree with you, Joe. Zoom In. I really liked Zoom In from Ringo. He's really been undergoing such a career renaissance in the last few years. And Change the World I like too, but I kind of agree with you. I'd have to give the edge to Zoom In. I thought that was a fun record and kind of a timely record. I almost call that the quarantine record or something, because he did kind of comment a bit on what even the title Zoom In. I mean, he was having some fun with that. I just thought that was a fun highlight. And so I enjoyed that. Of course, Get Back. What can you say? What else can you say about that? And the Plastic Ono Band, I think that was one of the most thorough box sets.
Absolutely.
I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean,
so was Imagine.
It was very much in line with Imagine. It absolutely was. I mean, Sean and Paul Hicks and all they're doing just a phenomenal job of putting together these sets. I mean, with all the different mixes. I mean, sure, you get the demos, you get the outtakes, you get the jams, but you then get these additional mixes. The books, my gosh. I mean, with Plastic Ono Band, they had that separate book that came out, which was incredible too.
Yes.
And then you get the box set and you get another book. I mean, come on. I mean, it just really, it was an embarrassment of riches. I mean, it was just phenomenal.
Yeah. So many things. I agree with you there, Kit. For me, the absolute highlight in a year with so many highlights has to be the Get Back documentary.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about it. It really is a masterpiece. And I will admit that, when it comes to, in general, audio versus video, I can listen to audio thousands of times and never get tired of it. With video, most videos and movies I watch once or twice and then hardly ever go back to it, with the exception of like A Hard Day's Night and Help and those films. But I can tell you one thing, I'm going to keep going back to Get Back.
Yeah.
Because you pick up new things every single time you watch it that maybe you didn't hear was said the first time. And you really learn about the relationship in such a compressed period of time in 1 month. And it's a work of art. It really is.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that, yes, it was close to 8 hours, I found it all riveting. I was mesmerized by the whole thing. And like we said, the picture quality was so amazing. And so much you learn about the whole process of how they worked in the studio. We never really saw that before with the Beatles. I mean, except for the original Let It Be and rehearsing Hey Jude. But to start a song from scratch like Get Back, to see the genesis of that, and to see the others react to it. And then when you hear the finished product, it's absolutely fascinating. I don't know how anyone cannot be fascinated by all that.
Yeah.
And the wealth of material that was pouring out of them, especially Paul at that time, all the snippets of songs that you heard. I was just watching again when he was working on Carry That Weight, and he had all these other lyrics that were kind of comical that he planned for Ringo. And of course, he did use it in the finished song, but that I find fascinating. There's so much. It's incredible what Peter Jackson did. I want to see all 60 hours of film that he watched. I'm speaking
Maybe.
for a lot of people there.
Right.
But
Yeah.
we don't know what's in store yet. I've heard a lot of rumors about it, the DVD and Blu-ray. But any more footage that we get, we're all the better for it. But I can't say enough about Get Back. It
Yep.
truly is a masterpiece, and keep going back to it because you're going to keep learning more and more about
Yep.
the relationship with the four of them and how they work together. Totally agree about the plastic Ono Band box set. You really got so much for the money. I made a comment several shows ago. Big difference to me between the Lennon camp and the Harrison camp. The Lennon family gives you everything, practically everything, but the kitchen sink, and the Harrison family, they're more selective, and that's
Yes.
fine.
Mhm.
You don't get as many discs with All Things Must Pass as you do with Plastic Ono Band, but everything that you get on All Things Must Pass is worth your while. You could
Yeah.
spend a lot of time on all the different discs on Plastic Ono Band and not tell the difference between one version and another. There are
Right.
slight differences. And sometimes you got, breathtaking stuff like John's vocal on Mother, Isolated, that kind
Isolated.
of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep.
Oh,
Or hearing the piano part that's supposed to be Phil Spector going into Love, the very beginning at full volume. And then after the song ends,
Right.
the piano part, I love that stuff. It's not drastic, the difference
Mhm.
of what you're hearing there, but I find it all so interesting. Everything you could possibly put into a box set, they did. And the Plastic Ono Band book really is, I think it's an essential book. It's got
Yeah.
lots of quotes from John and Yoko, and they don't always have to apply to the songs in the Plastic Ono Band, but in some ways they are related, and they find a way to fit them in a way where conceptually it works. And I kind of wish that they would tell you with each quote where it comes from, but they were so deeply revealing about themselves in their interviews, John and Yoko. You learn so much about them, and the book is really just it's a must for any Beatle fan and Lennon fan
Mhm.
to get that.
Right.
I loved All Things Must Pass, the box set. So many great moments. I got to tell you though, and anybody who has watched my shows will probably know, I'm not that big on remixes still. I might
Mhm.
change my mind in the future, but as someone who always liked the way Beatles albums were mixed and solo albums were mixed, I hardly ever complained about them. Maybe I'll change my opinion in the future. I've always been very pro Phil Spector when it comes to All Things Must Pass and Let It Be. I do love the sound quality of all the remixes of all the Beatles box sets. They sound phenomenal that
Mhm.
Giles Martin had worked on. But when it comes to these box sets, I immediately go to the outtakes and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the remixes are not nearly as important. That might change for me in the future. I just don't know. The McCartney lyrics book is a definite highlight.
Yeah.
It's not without its flaws,
Right.
Yeah.
but you really get inside the mind of Paul, and you get the feeling like if you said to Paul, talk about Lady Madonna, and he's sitting on the couch,
Yeah.
and it's like any thought that comes into his brain, he's just going to tell you, even if it goes off topic. He's
Right.
just going to keep
Exactly.
going. And it's like he's very comfortable with you wherever the conversation goes. It's like unedited in a way, although you know that it's edited. But you really feel like you're having a personal conversation sometimes with him, and it's just fascinating the way that when he's writing a song, he could have all these random thoughts, putting them all together in a way that you understand how the song becomes what it was. And that counts for so many songs in the book. A very worthwhile read. The two EPs from Ringo I love, partly because of the fact I'm just so grateful he's doing anything at this point. And sound quality is great. I will agree Zoom In is stronger than Change the World. And I love just his attitude and the energy on these records. And for me, as I've said many times, the interesting thing with Ringo are the songwriting collaborations that he has, in this case with Bruce Sugar, mainly because all the other people that he's been writing with ever since the post Mark Hudson days weren't in the same room with him
Yeah.
to write the songs. And I just, I like the fact that Linda Perry gives him a song.
Yeah.
Sam Hollander is still working with Ringo, and Teach Me to Tango, killer track, really good song on Zoom In. So like I said, if you add both EPs together and the new charity song with See You Later Alligator, which is very much kind of like Rock Around the Clock was, same sound, same energy. I love it. So, I like both EPs, and I'm happy anytime Ringo releases anything. McCartney 3 Imagined, I still got to listen to a lot more. I like the concept of it, but I get kind of frustrated because I wish that Paul would actually work with these people and write songs with someone like
Yeah.
Beck instead of just handing over
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
and see what you can do with it. Which is a big thing these days.
Yeah.
I was commenting.
Multiple acts have now done something like that. Have
Yeah.
their albums are now being covered by other artists and putting all
Yeah.
on one album. So it's just
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it was a smart idea. McCartney 3 Imagined that Paul wanted that out. I think that was a pretty smart idea, to get other artists doing and maybe appeal to other people, some Paul songs and
Yep.
maybe it's a different audience.
Mhm.
Personally, it wasn't for me. I have it because
Yep,
I wanted to
me
have a
too.
complete collection. I still haven't heard the entire thing. I think I've heard 5 tracks online, and they just weren't for me. I didn't like them much. Although I
Yeah.
did get a kick out of that one video where it had the Paul
Find My Way.
cartoon character.
Yeah,
That was a Find My Way.
Yeah.
The Beck
Yeah.
remix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I did like that, the video of it. It was fun,
Yeah.
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 I became a St. Vincent fan thanks to that. I got her new album that came out this year called Daddy's Home, and I think it's fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'll bet she's very pleased.
Yeah. Yeah.
Worked for her benefit.
Yep.
And I
Yeah.
should
album.
mention that I was one of the people that did very much enjoy the All Things Must Pass remix. It was a revelation to me.
Mm.
Having said that, before that was released, I always said, look, I don't know if they can do that with All Things Must Pass. Can they really remix it and make sort of despectorize it a little bit? Even though I like Spectre, I was curious what they could do, but I didn't think they could really do it. And then I used to go around saying, well, with All Things Must Pass, that's what makes it All Things Must Pass. Is it going to be the same album? I can listen to it that way, but I was curious to see what they could do. So I think now I like it both ways, to tell you the truth. And it actually gave me more of an appreciation for the original too.
Okay.
If that makes
Yeah.
any sense. I think I listened to a lot of opinions, and people were saying they thought something was lost actually with the new version. I went back to the old one. I said, yeah, it has its charm. I always loved the album, and that's how I loved it. I loved it with the way it was released in 1970. So I must have liked it. I didn't always
Yeah.
sit there saying, boy, if only they
Yeah.
could do something with this.
I think they were very smart, because there were rumors for a while that, they were going to strip all the Phil
Right.
Spector stuff out. They didn't. And I mean, maybe in some cases they toned it down a little bit,
Right.
but they were very smart not to strip it out because
Yeah, we love Wawa Kid, right?
that's right. We love Wawa. And
Right.
if you had stripped all the Phil Spector stuff out of Wawa, it wouldn't be the same song, because in some cases it needs that big sound. You want that. So I think I think that whole, stripping all of it away was overblown. I think they did a nice job of maybe in some cases bringing up George's vocals when they needed to, and they were a little too buried in the mix, but they didn't just remove all the echo and everything else. I mean, I think they, on the whole, it was a good balance.
If
But
you're gonna
actually,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Ken.
yeah, one thing that they did that was very smart was that one of the discs was all demos and it was without Phil Spector. So you could actually hear, well, it was just George and Klaus and Ringo doing Wawa.
Yeah.
So if you wanted the song without Phil Spector, you got it that way.
True.
So but with the original mixes, we did comment that there were times when you could understand why George's vocals were a bit buried, because sometimes when it's out in the clear and it may not be that strong, you could see why there was, some reverb added or whatever. So there was reasoning behind what was done with the original mixes.
Yeah.
And I also do want to say, I totally agree with you about Ramon, the tribute. I love the production on Ramon, especially.
Excellent.
And when you hear other people try to do these songs, you realize how difficult it is to pull off.
Mhm.
You know, especially certain songs like, you know, how many people really can sing Monkberry Moon Delight?
Yeah.
Tell me, please. You know, and all the work that was done with the harmonies with Paul and Linda that was done so well, captured on this tribute for something like Dear Boy, you know, and Long Haired Lady and songs
Right.
like that. So I think it was very well done. On the other hand, you know, my other podcast show, Things We Said Today, my other co-hosts weren't too crazy about the fact that it was too faithful to the original, and
Mm,
they would have preferred if they had, you know, done something that was a little bit more, put more effort with a, you know, somewhat of a different arrangement. Everyone has a different opinion.
right.
That's what makes the world go round.
That's
You know?
That
right.
was a very, very pleasant surprise, that CD.
Yep.
Mm,
Going into it, I admit I was like, well, what's it going to be like? You know, it's probably
Yeah.
okay. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, I
I think
really
that was
enjoyed it. I had a
also
lot
one
of
of
fun with it.
the problems with the Art of McCartney tribute was a lot. I mean, a lot of that was very faithful to,
mm,
because then you got Paul's backup band pretty much
right.
playing on most of those tracks there, where you had something like Junior's Farm with Steve Miller, and you're like, well, let's hear a Steve Miller version rather than
Yeah.
Right.
a Paul McCartney version, you know.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very
But
good.
but one of the highlights for us on Two Legs was getting to talk to Timmy Shawn, who did the vocals for Monkberry Moon Delight and
Mm,
Smile Away, and you know,
Mhm.
get to hear his story. So I mean, that was really interesting to hear.
He was great.
Yeah, yeah, he was great. Yeah.
Mhm.
mm. Another big highlight for me, which we talked about briefly on our show, was the album that came out from Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr.,
Oh,
which is
yeah,
called
Mm.
Blackbird. And
right.
it was 10 recordings altogether,
Mm,
8 of which were Lennon McCartney Beatles songs. And they also covered Just Like Starting Over
mm,
and Silly Love Songs. And if you love Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr. from all their years in the Fifth Dimension, and I've seen them live, they are phenomenal live. Their vocals are as strong as ever. And this particular album, they're very nice arrangements of Beatles songs, and it does sound like a 70s R&B
hmm,
album, like what
All
they
right.
sounded like back then. And
Nice.
that's, you know, I love, as all of us do on this show, R&B from that decade.
yes.
It really
Mhm.
has that kind of production feel to it. The arrangements are great, their vocals are great. You never know that these are people in their, you know, upper 70s. They're just so strong. And
Wow.
the arrangements are just very nice. They're
Mhm.
not trying to copy the Beatles here. And in particular, Billy Davis Jr. doing Help. It's a very gospely version of it. But
Ooh.
that was a very nice surprise for me.
Mhm.
So just want to lightly touch upon some of the books that I listed here, since we did bring up a few of them. Of course, there's All Things Must Pass Away, Ken Womack and Jason Krupa. Absolutely essential, I think. A lot of things you learn about the relationship between
Yep.
George and Eric Clapton in there.
Yep.
Beatles 100 pivotal moments in Beatle history from John Borak. Just what the title says, taking 100 moments, Beatles and solo Beatles careers that are very important, and discussing why this author felt it was. The new book from Laura Kortner and Dr. Bob, It's All in the Mind, Volume 2,
Yep.
all about Yellow Submarine, the film, everything you ever wanted to know about the film itself. They are the masters, they are the experts
Yeah,
on
for
that
sure.
particular film. And Bruce Spicer just recently put out a Magical Mystery Tour and Yellow Submarine book. I just interviewed Bruce with Al Sussman on my YouTube channel to talk about that. And I want to mention a couple of books which I haven't read yet, but I know everybody's been praising. One of which is Paul Sally's book, Little
Yeah.
Wayne.
Yes.
Thank
I
you.
have to get
Tom is
that.
always ready.
Yep.
I'm
He's
telling
ready.
you.
Yeah, amazing.
He has a job for life
Yeah.
as always having a book or a
Yeah.
DVD or an album ready.
Mhm.
But it's all about the life of Jimmy
Jim
McCulloch.
Collar, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's McCulloch actually.
Yes.
It's Henry McCulloch, Jimmy McCulloch.
Jimmy
Okay.
McCullough, or yeah.
I
Henry
always
screw
McCullough
that
and
up.
Jimmy McCulloch.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
McCulloch.
I always screw that up.
Twickenham.
Okay.
Twickenham.
But everything you ever wanted to know about Jimmy is in that
Yeah.
book. His whole beginnings, he was a child prodigy, great on guitar at a very young age, the bands he was in before Wings. You know, it's really I've heard everybody praise that
Yeah.
book. So
Gotta pick that
that's
up.
one I'd recommend. And then Jude Kessler's latest on John, Shades of Life Part 1, covering most of the year of 1965. So those are the ones that I certainly would recommend. Any that I missed from any of you?
Oh man, go ahead,
Yep,
Kit.
well, as Tom mentioned,
Yeah.
the
Oh
book
yeah,
on
Fandom and the Beatles. That goes without saying. You know.
Of course, yep, yeah, it's yeah, and it's for us. It's about
Right.
fans, and obviously very important role that fans played and continue to play in the Beatles story.
Tom doesn't have something right at his fingertips. I'm sorry.
Oh man, I know.
Well, while Tom's looking, I do want to second his comments on the book about the Beatles in Hamburg, and I'm still going through it right now.
I need to get that.
Yeah, it is excellent, and yes, it's not cheap. Yes, it takes a while to arrive because you're ordering it. You're ordering it from abroad, but it is. I can't imagine that there isn't, that this isn't going to be like the authoritative book on those years in Hamburg. It's just a great, chock full of photos, rare photos, memorabilia.
Yep.
It's an essential, no question about it.
Okay. Very good, sir.
Yeah, and then we also got the the second Grand Dude book. So Grand Dude's Green Submarine. And then
that's one.
Yeah, here's another one that you could probably pass. I don't want to say anything bad about it, but it's the McCartney Behind the Songs by Mike Evans. Going through it, reading some of it, I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking. There's a lot of the same stories. He just will pick like 1 or 2 songs per album. He'll talk about the album itself and then just give you the story behind 1 or 2 songs from the album. And they're pretty well-known stories to begin with. So I don't necessarily consider it essential, but if you're someone like me that's got to have everything McCartney,
How about for beginners? How about newer fans?
This is definitely a good beginner's book. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good
Good point, Joe. Good point. Yeah, and I love that picture of Paul right there.
That is a great picture.
Yeah, I would get it just for that, I think.
Yeah. But anytime an author doesn't want to talk about their book, I think that kind of,
Okay.
maybe not, maybe tell you something. Okay. But anyways.
Interesting. Well,
I had no idea.
Interesting. Well, they're actually a book.
No idea.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's a book that just came out. I'm waiting for my copy to arrive, but I know it'll be great because we know all the authors involved. It's a travel guide, and hopefully by next year we can all start traveling a bit more. It's the Beatles' Fab Four Cities: Liverpool, Hamburg, London, and New York, by Richard Porter, David Bedford, and Susan Ryan. Now these are people that if you want tour guides, travel guides, and experts for all of these cities, you can't get much better than these people. And it's a book full of, it's whether you're planning on, you can take this book with you if you're going to travel these places, or if you're an armchair traveler, you can, use this book. They have maps, they have histories, obviously the Beatles connections, and some solo too, to all of these different places, pictures, and I think they include personal stories of their connections to the city. So I can't wait to get this, because you can't have better guides than these three. For sure.
And David Bedford was born in Liverpool. He's been in Liverpool his whole life. He's Liverpool true. So if you need someone to give you a tour guide of Liverpool, he'd be the perfect person.
Yeah, but Richard,
Tom, are you addressing Sean Nichols?
Yes.
Okay, he wants to know the title of the Hamburg book.
Yeah, I just wrote it in.
Oh, great. And Richard Porter is I think he's president of the International Beatles, or I think it's the International Beatles Fan Club, and has given tours, London walks, and all for, decades. No bigger authority there. And then Susan Ryan has given tours, Beatles and John Lennon tours in New York for years and years. So, and is a familiar figure at the New York and Chicago Beatle Fest. So again, there's, these are 3 experts. So, so definitely check that out too. That came out in October, I think.
Okay. So why don't we move on ahead to the coming year and talk about what's on our wish list. Mine's fairly lengthy, so I think I will go to the three of you first.
I tried
Why
to
don't we
narrow it
start-
down a few.
I narrowed it down. Yeah.
Yeah, let's start with you, Kit.
Okay. Well, we talked, kind of referred to this earlier about the McCartney archives. Let's hope for a McCartney archive release. I am waiting patiently for Back to the Egg London Town, whether it's going to be a combined release, or I would be happy with even just Back to the Egg.
Right.
Yeah.
Please, please,
Get London
please.
Town.
Yep, exactly. One or the other, both. I'm not picky. So love to see that. And love to see, I'm, probably being greedy, but another George Harrison release. Now, there's a rumor that there's going to be Bangladesh next year. Is that
Well,
correct?
If they're going chronologically, that would be the next.
Yep.
Right.
So
I have to wonder what would they do with that as far as
Yeah.
bonus material,
that I
unless
don't
they're
know.
gonna, unless there's more rehearsal stuff,
Mhm.
because the DVD that came out a while ago, it's like, I don't know, 10 years ago, had some rehearsals of George doing If Not For You, Come
Mhm.
On in My Kitchen with Leon Russell. There are a
Right.
few things. I don't know how much more there is of that. I don't know if the Harrison family want to put out anything from the afternoon show.
Yeah.
I don't know how far you
Yeah.
can go with.
Not
Well,
sure.
that,
you
you
can
know, but
also
we'll
put
see.
out the Bangladesh song, whether or not there was an outtake or two on there.
True.
The single version, and then obviously the B side as
Blue.
well, Deep Blue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there's stuff.
Yeah, so I'd be happy for that, or any other the album box sets if they want to go through the chronological albums rather than if they want to skip the live. But Bangladesh I would love that would be I love it. Possibly the Sometime in New York City box set. I guess we're going to get Sean let that slip. So that might be next year, and I'd be interested in that to see what that would comprise of. Let It Be. Let's get that original Let It Be
Thank you.
movie out. Please, at last. Okay. And finally, I'm really looking forward to, I hope that McCartney Legacy book will be out
Yes.
next year. We were talking a little bit about that before the show by Adrian Sinclair and Alan Kozin. I'm really looking forward to that book. I think that's going to be extremely insightful. So I'm hoping, because I think it was supposed to be out this year, and then
Right.
was
Always
postponed.
got delayed, and now it's October 15th. October 15th is the
October
latest release.
15th.
Same date as when Let It Be, the box set came out.
Oh,
Just
no
a year
kidding.
later.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're
A year
right.
later.
Yep.
You're right. So let's hope that we'll have to have them on our show. So we'll get working on that. So so those are my hopes for 2022.
Okay. Tom, you are next.
Okay, well, Kit said it, let it be. There are rumors. They did say, well, I shouldn't say rumors, but people in the Beatles camp said we were going to get this, and not with the a release of Get Back, which I think is kind of idiotic in a way. But however they release it, I don't care. Just release it. With it or with Get Back or without Get Back. I think it's still very important that we get that. George, concert Bangladesh would be nice. Everything, a new transfer to Blu-ray, high def, and then remaster or remixed audio, whatever you want to do with it. Let's just get one big package. Hopefully not as big as a crate, or maybe we can put it in a one of those travel, whatever they put the I forgot what they're called, but you can, like, these tour cases where you pick on, you put speakers and whatnot in these tour cases, these large tour cases, so maybe it'll come in something like that. That would be cool.
Don't give him any ideas. That'll be for $2,000.
Yeah, exactly.
No more gnomes though.
Yeah, no more gnomes, unfortunately. Well, maybe we can get something like a stage or something like that with the figurines of each individual on the stage or something.
He's got a dangerous imagination.
He really does.
That's for Ringo. over the years, we've been getting a few of his movies put out on DVD and Blu-ray. We've got Magic Christian, Candy, Caveman, That'll Be the Day. I would love to see a release of Blind Man and 200 Motels. Earlier this year, the Frank Zappa cat released this 200 Motels sessions, or I think it was like 5 or 6 discs worth of material that they recorded for that album release
on Blu-ray. You're talking about Blu-ray because Blind Man is on DVD.
Well, I want an update. Yeah, I want an updated version of that. Yeah, a Blu-ray release would be great. For Paul, I got a great Record Store Day release for Paul. Next year is the anniversary of their Wings' first 3 singles, so I would love to see those first 3 Wings singles in a box set release for like a Record Store Day. I think that would be, or it doesn't have to be Record Store Day. Just release it. It doesn't matter.
That's a great idea.
It is.
Yeah,
because 1972 was such a unique year in that regard.
Right.
Who else would release 3 singles and no album?
Right.
Just separate singles by itself.
Right. That's why you wait another 3 weeks and release Wildlife in January of 72. You don't need to release another album in 71. So I would love that. Also with Paul, we talk about the art, Back to the Egg in London Town. It doesn't matter for me what it is, just as long as the series continues. That's all I can hope for is for this series to continue.
Yeah.
Good
And
point.
so even Off the Ground, would be a welcome for me. And John, obviously, sometime in New York City for next year, that would make my day too. Just as long, again, if these sets continue, I would love to hear what he does with Woman Is the End of the World and all those other songs, Attica State, and I would love to hear remixes of those or isolated vocals on those as well. So next year will be another expensive year.
Yeah, like that's a safe bet.
Yeah. All my money is on that.
Yeah. Now that the Lennon and Harrison camp are in this groove of putting out something each year, you add that to the Beatles stuff, you add that to McCartney's releases, and it's only, Ringo's the only one that hasn't put out a box set.
Right. Well,
yet.
Yet. I don't know if Capitol, if they find that to be, a rough thing to decide, in order to make money, you have to make a certain amount of these sets. If like 5,000 units is the limit to make any profit, do they feel like that will sell? Like if we did get a Ringo 73 album box set, would
2023?
Would it sell? Would it sell? I know we'll buy it.
I think that would sell as good as the other ones. Yeah, I think.
But you'd figure, that would probably be the only one then that they would do. Obviously that's his most well-known album.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, I definitely think they should do it for Ringo, for the Ringo album.
Yeah.
See what gets me at that. I know it's always like the logic. It makes sense. It's common sense and business sense. But however, I see so many box sets of artists that I wonder, like, I don't know, like I'll say Bobby Gentry. I love Bobby Gentry. Billy Joe, Mississippi Delta. There's a bunch of fancy. There's a bunch of stuff I like. But if somebody like Bobby Gentry can have a box set, you can put out a Ringo box set. That's how I always think. It's got the Beatles at least behind them. I don't just mean the 73 album. I mean in general. I think, or the Trogs, a Trogs box set. Really?
Well, that Ringo album is historic in the fact that all 4 of them are on there, right?
Right. It's had 3 major hits.
Yeah, it's exactly 3 major hits. Very well known acts. The band. How many great musicians are on that album besides just the 3 other Beatles? So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Billy Preston.
No brainer.
Yeah.
Klaus Foreman,
Right.
Elton. No, Elton's on Good Night Vienna.
Yeah, Good Night Vienna.
Yeah.
Joe.
Okay. Well, to start with, I'm going to say might be too early in 2022, but I think a lot of people are hoping for an official Get Back Blu-ray release. And hopefully with some extra hours on there, which we know Peter Jackson wants to do, but not sure if they're going to find it lucrative.
Powers to be.
Mhm.
So, but that's what the first thing I would hope for. Moving on to John. Yes, the John Lennon Sometime in New York City box, which, on a tweet or something, somebody had asked Sean Lennon, when can we expect Sometime in New York City? And he just came back 2022,
Mhm.
just like that. So
Yeah.
maybe that means we'll get it, but I want to see it with the enhanced Live in New York City concert.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Restored. That would go in nice with that. And I'm hoping that the inclusion of that, along with maybe some of the Willowbrook rehearsals, there are a lot of
Mhm.
those Willowbrook rehearsals, and just make it a nice package. Maybe it'll get a little more respect. Sometimes these things get second opinions, like we've had that with McCartney too. I think got gained a little ground when it was reissued in an archive set, and of course Ram, which was
Mhm.
always really a good album anyway, but it got
Yeah.
a lot more appreciation over the last decade or two.
Mhm. Good call,
Which
Joe. Yeah.
brings
Did
us to
John do
Paul.
the John do the telethon in 72?
Didn't
Which
he
Was
the
the
Jerry
Jerry
Lewis
Lewis? Yeah.
Jerry
telethon?
Lewis was
Might have.
72. I think it was 72.
Okay. All right. I mean, that'd be just
Yeah,
cool
that
if
could
we could
we
get
could
on
put that
that
in
set.
there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and of course, well,
Yeah,
with Paul,
72.
Yeah.
of course, I would like to see. I'd like to see a London Town and a Back to the Egg archives. He's done two at a time before. It could get
Right.
expensive, but I would like to see those two. Well, yeah, like you say, Tom, one at a time. As long as whichever one, I don't really mind. Although I'm pushing for Back to the Egg.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the one I really want.
Me too.
Um, and I've thought also about a possible thing that I'd heard from Paul, where it's some kind of an album
Oh yeah.
of
With
different
sound
sound
checks.
checks
Sound
that
Yeah.
he's
checks.
done.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
that'd be
Yeah.
cool.
that's an
Yeah.
interesting
I think
idea.
he's mentioned that in 2019. He mentioned that, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
I
be
thought that.
nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Well,
as I said before, and if anybody has a problem with his voice these days live, you could use sound checks from his whole touring career from like '89 to now and get
Yep.
all kinds of great performances of songs you don't usually get
Right.
mhm.
too. So that would be a very interesting package. So okay, Paul, work on that. I'm going to try to go through these quick because I got some other ones. Mark Lewison. I'd like to get the second book, but I think
Yep.
he said he's not committing to a date. He said if one time I heard him say it wouldn't be any earlier than 2023, and I'm not even going to ensure that to 2023. He's not going to commit
Mm.
to that. How about 2024 at this point to go along with the 60th anniversary of the
Right.
Beatles in America?
Mm-hmm.
2024 part 2. We'll be talking about 64 in it. That's
Mm.
an idea for that. Let's go to George. I want a 1991 Japanese tour account. However you do it, whether you have a whole show or just different clips from different shows, along with there's a lot of press conference material and arriving in Japan with Eric Clapton. You could make a nice feature out of that. I like to have something like that. If not that, the 1974 Dark Horse tour, which we've heard rumored maybe they were thinking about putting out
Mm.
at some
Well,
point.
going back to there was a press release right before COVID hit about releasing everything through 74,
Right.
but it would probably be like, one release per year and all in chronological order. So at some point we would get 74, probably something to do with the Dark Horse album and the Dark Horse tour.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. I was going to say a lot of times it's convenient to go with anniversaries because that's what we keep thinking.
Hmm.
What year? Like what year is it? For example, I thought of "Please Please Me." Imagine if they started again trying to put out
Mm.
the Beatles again, start with "Please Please Me" and working their way up. Or we have to wait for 2023 for "Please Please Me," right? Can't do it in
All right.
2022. See, I don't know if everything's by the book like that now. People are thinking in terms of anniversaries. That seems to be the gimmick these days, which helps to sell it. So
Hmm.
That's
maybe.
true.
Um,
Yeah.
let's not leave Ringo out here. The first thing that I always say is, as a vinyl collector, I would love to have Ringo's albums on vinyl that have not been on vinyl yet. And those would
Right.
be Vertical Man, Ringo Rama, Choose Love, and Liverpool 8. I'd like to see them get vinyl releases. And yeah, the Ringo box set, the self-titled Ringo, I would like that. But that one I could wait out to 2023. I think it would be great for 50th anniversary. And that's it for me. As long as Ringo does more EPs and more music at all in 2022, I'll be happy.
Agreed.
Very good. Great suggestions there from everybody. And mine are some of yours. And there's some repeat here, which you would expect.
Oh,
My number one wish is a Get Back DVD and Blu-ray with more material.
Yeah.
You know, the more the merrier. We know there's a 16-hour rough cut. I don't know if we're going to get that, but I'll be happy with a few more hours. I hope there's a Get Back soundtrack of some kind.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
let it be, you know, as much as I love the box set, I love it for the music and the sound quality is great, but there was so many missed opportunities.
Yes.
What could have been on the box set for Let It Be. Maybe they'll save that for Get Back.
Yeah.
I'd be quite happy with just 2 CDs or 3 CDs of material. You can do
Or
quite a
4.
lot with just that, or 4 or more.
We're not greedy.
Yeah. And we all said the original Let It Be on DVD and Blu-ray, the film. Sometime in New York City box set. Like Joe, I was thinking about not just the audio from Live in New York City from the 1-to-1 concerts. I'm thinking about the video as well.
oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
Can they? Can they combine the afternoon and evening shows? You know, we'll see.
Yeah.
There's so much you can do. There were rehearsals at Butterfly Studios, I think it was, that have been bootlegged, like you said, Joe, and maybe that can make it, you know, into this box set. But we know something's going to be coming out next year, and just following the example of Plastic Ono Band and Imagine, the Lennons give you so much. So it wouldn't surprise me if we got quite a lot. Like to get a lot of outtakes of the songs from Sometime in New York City, including Yoko songs as well. Concert for Bangladesh box set probably is what's next in the pipeline. Although, you know, I don't know how much more you can do other than what we mentioned, but we'll see. For Ringo, I'd like another EP and a box set for the Ringo album. You know, I would like to see a box set for every Ringo album, but I don't think that's being realistic. But if you're going to do it at all, I would think the Ringo album is a natural because of the reasons that we said. It's the most successful album of his career. You do have the other Beatles on it, and great material all throughout. For
They
Paul,
could do Goodnight Vienna maybe if they had a lot of extra material, you know, with John and Elton.
Well, I mean,
but
that
I
would
do
also
Ringo before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, if the Ringo album would sell, I mean, if that box set sold, then maybe that would give them the confidence to do a Goodnight Vienna.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The powers to be.
There was talk a few years ago. Ringo said that they were, or he was thinking about an Apple Years box set.
I remember
that. Like what happened with George, and nothing has come of that yet. Of course, maybe COVID could have affected the whole thing.
Yeah, possibly.
For Paul, something no one's mentioned. It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
You know, there were plans for a stage presentation in London, and then because of COVID, you know, that got derailed. So hopefully, if everything is back to normal, we'll see that, you know, on stage in London, at least, and hopefully there will be a soundtrack album with the performers, you know, from the show, not from Paul himself, but I would love to hear that. A new album from Paul. Why not? You know, it'd be nice if he got together with his band again. You know, I don't know if he's had any contact with any. Most of the time, whenever we hear about him, he's always by himself or with his family.
Right.
So maybe it's time. Once again, I'm sure he's always writing material. So he probably has a lot of material already anyway. An archival box set, everything that you guys have mentioned. Most of all, I prefer Press to Play for the next one, but I will take Off the Ground. I will take London Town. I'll take Back to
I will do anything for an official release of Yvonne.
Yep.
Okay.
So,
well, for all the stuff that you know, Paul did with Phil Ramon, that would end up. It would make sense to put that on the Press to Play album. Off the Ground has so many great bonus tracks.
Yeah.
Easily right there. You've got another CD of all the bonus tracks that were on the CD singles.
True.
And then tours from Paul and
Yeah.
Ringo. You know, Ringo's about to tour. We haven't heard anything from Paul yet. You know that he'll want to. So
Yeah.
that could very well, happen for next year. Paul and Ringo remaining healthy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
sure.
And as you mentioned, the McCartney Legacy book from Alan Kozin and Adrian Sinclair. And finally, the world to be rid of COVID
Yes.
once and for all.
Here, here.
You know what this segment reminds me of is the scene in The Jerk with Steve Martin, and he goes, "All I need is this CD
and this chair
and this chair
and the paddle game with the remote
Right.
control." That's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Right.
That's
though.
a great
Right.
movie. Oh,
It's
my
amazing.
God.
I love The Lonely Guy, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, The Man with Two Brains. I know all these
Right.
movies I love. And then I like The Jerk. I don't really know.
Oh, you gotta
Oh.
see it.
Oh
That was
man,
his first
I-
major
Yeah.
film.
Hilarious.
I just remember him when he's going on at the beginning when he's leaving home and he gets all dressed up in gear or something. He just stands out and he goes hitchhiking like this.
Oh,
It's an interesting film because he actually combines a lot of his comedy routine stuff
Right.
that he was
Yeah.
doing when he was doing stand up, and he put
Mhm.
that into the film.
Right.
Mhm.
So, but it's great lines. So
Mhm.
many lines you can quote from The Jerk,
Oh,
Yeah.
and I do
Endless.
all the time.
No,
In
don't you
this
three start
house.
that.
We're too busy with the
Revenge, Tom,
honeymoon.
revenge.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, revenge. I wouldn't even know what you're doing.
Kit, you and I will figure a TV show that only we know. And
Exactly.
we'll just do the lines for it.
Everybody knows the honeymoon. Come on.
Hey, the beauty
Well,
about the honeymoon.
We'll find a Gen X TV
Yeah.
show that these guys don't know or
There are
something.
only
Exactly.
39 classic episodes, right?
Right.
That's right. All you gotta know is 39
Yeah.
episodes.
That's right. Oh,
My
man.
memory is bad enough.
Actually, I think the average is a lot higher than that.
Mhm.
Very good, Joe.
Oh, God.
All right.
Uh,
So this has been great. Our last
Yeah.
show of the year.
Yes,
Why
indeed.
don't we tell the folks what each of us has in store with their own solo projects? Tom, let's start with you.
All right, thank you, Ken. Yeah, so Two Legs, we're busier than ever. We just posted our last episode, which was a tribute to wildlife, which just celebrated its 50th anniversary. We had a gentleman named Norman Masloff, who goes by Mazzy, has a great YouTube channel. Very big, person that appreciates all kinds of music is one of the things that I love about his channel. So that's out now. That's on our YouTube channel, as well as all the audio formats. Yesterday, we just recorded the show, our third part of our Best Friends series, which myself and Andy and our friend Anthony Rituno over from the Glass Onion on John Lennon podcast. And this just examines the friendship between John and Paul throughout the 70s, from meetings and from press and media and all that stuff. So that's there. And then next week, to end the year, we'll do a year in review as well. One of the fun things that I got to do recently, which hopefully it'll get posted this week or next week or whenever, is we all know my frenemy or my rival, whatever, Sam from the other side of the pond.
Frenemy.
Yeah.
I like Sam a lot.
So do
Yeah.
I. We have a good time whenever we get together, and we got together recently, and we know his spin-off show, Macca in Your Attic. Well, we got to turn the tables a little bit, put the shoe on the other foot, and I hosted this time while he got to show some of his prized Macca items in his collection. So that was a lot of fun. We had a great time doing that, and like I said, hopefully that'll be up in a week or two. So that was a good time. Find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Two Legs Podcast. You can email us at twolegspodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, please check out our YouTube channel. We're getting really close to 900 subs, so we really appreciate all the newcomers and all the people that have been there from the beginning. We can't do the show without you. So thank you very much.
Okay. Always a busy guy,
Yeah.
Tom Hunyadi. Joe, you're next.
Not very busy. The guy that's not very busy.
Oh, stop.
Yes, you are.
My YouTube
Jeez.
channel is Mean Mr. Mayo. And I just put a video up today. It's kind of responding to other discussions that I've been seeing on
Yeah, that was
YouTube
good.
Yeah.
about the Beatles
Yeah.
history and all that. And the thing is, again, like, who are the best judges of history to give you the good, accurate stories? At the Beatles themselves, the primary sources, people around them like George Martin and Neil Aspinall and so forth, or maybe sometimes secondaries, outside sources, historians sometimes know more. Beatles, of course, Beatles have to be number one, but they like a lot of errors and don't know their own history. Sometimes make mistakes. Sometimes they just forget. Sometimes they get the right place but the wrong thing, or the right thing in the wrong place. So that's a video that I did. It's up now. And the Fab Gab show that I do with Matthew Street, we're taking a break from now till January. So we're not going to be doing any new shows until January. But when January comes, look out for more shows. And, we're doing other stuff now, not just ranking albums anymore. In fact, we've been doing other shows so much that it's to the point where we have to get back to doing some album rankings. And, I want to get some more guests on there. And that's it for me, folks.
All right.
Okay. I always save the best for last, so you'll have to be patient, Kit. I had a whole list here, and I can't even find it of all the stuff I got planned. But on my YouTube channel, I can tell you, which is Ken Michaels Radio, I just did a really nice interview with Bruce Spicer and Al Sussman because of Bruce's new book, Magical Mystery Tour and Yellow Submarine. And that book is about everything that followed the Sgt. Pepper album, from the Our World broadcast through the Magical Mystery Tour album and film, Lady Madonna single, also the Yellow Submarine film and album. It's basically everything from that period except the White Album, which Bruce covered in his previous book. So the two of them talk with me about that whole period, and you'll find that a lot of information that maybe you didn't know before. And that's on my YouTube channel. I am hoping that in a few days I'll be interviewing Dr. Bob and Laura
Yes.
Fortner.
Cool.
Hey, 2 shows in a row dealing
Yeah.
with Yellow Submarine. Where else? But and I'll be giving away a copy of this book in a special contest that should be starting the end of this week, along with a lot of Yellow Submarine memorabilia as well. My other podcast show, Things We Said Today, will be doing a show this week, just like we did here, which is a tribute to George Harrison. And I'm figuring we're probably going to do a year in review show and our wish list for 2022 on that show as well. So it'll be interesting to hear what Darren and Alan have to say in that show. My website, kenmichaelsradio.com, has weekly Beatles trivia every single week, and you can win 1 out of 10 great prizes. I actually went back and found a copy, still sealed, of A Hard Day's Night. This is the Blu-ray and DVD that came out in 2014. Can't go wrong with this movie. So that's one of the 10
Classic.
prizes that you could win to add to your copy of 10 that you have already of A Hard Day's Night. So yeah, there's so many great things that you can win on my weekly Beatles trivia and games page. And I do believe that should be everything. If you can, please subscribe to Ken Michaels Radio, my YouTube channel. Yeah, more great stuff happening on that channel in the weeks ahead.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Kit. You're next.
Okay. Well, my annual Beatles Christmas gift guide just went up on Something Else Reviews today. So if you want more information about many of the things we talked about tonight and some things we didn't mention, head on over to somethingelsereviews.com. And my article is right up there. So do check that out. I also did an interview with Joe Johnson, who hosts Beatle Brunch. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that show and with Joe. And we do this every year. Wouldn't be Christmas without doing an interview with Joe, where we talk about best releases of the year, and we talk about highlights Beatles solo related of the year. And you can find that on brunchradio.com, or you can look up the Beatle Brunch channel on YouTube. and you can watch it there as well. So go check it out. We had a really fun time, fun interview. He's a great guy. I'm doing my last Facebook live chat for the year this Thursday, December 16th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on my Facebook page. I didn't do it last month because with all the Get Back madness, there just wasn't time. it was too nuts. So I had to miss last month, but I'll be back this month. We'll be talking about the highlights of the year, what I'm up to for next year, the usual discussion, the usual rubbish, and it will cost nothing because you just tune in to my Facebook page, bring cocoa, bring eggnog, whatever your choice beverage is, and just come hang out with me. And finally, talking about gifts. Why, if you're thinking of a gift for yourself, or you can actually give this as a gift for somebody else, why not my Stevie Wonder class, which starts January 27th. And it's 3 nights, no grades involved, nothing you have to write or anything like that. It's just 3 nights of learning about the music of Stevie Wonder from his earliest days at Motown through today. It's multimedia presentations, class discussions, homework, but it's the fun kind, don't worry. And I promise it's 3 nights of fun and learning. So I'm preparing as we speak for this class. I'm so excited about it. So I will have information on how to register on our Facebook page, and I have it on mine as well. So I hope I'll be seeing you in late January. And then I better tell about how to reach us. You can reach us, of course, on our Facebook page. You can find us on virtually any podcasting platform you can think of. We're everywhere. And of course, our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for all your support this year. We really, our YouTube channel really grew this year, all thanks to you guys, and that we can finally broadcast live on here. So thank you. Thank you all so much for your support this year. You've really helped us grow. And we couldn't do this without you. You can email us at talkmoresolotalk@gmail.com. Please let us know your feedback. If you have topics that you'd like to see us cover, you can send us your ideas. And you can tweet at us at talkmoretalk1, the number 1, and you can find us on the web, talkmoretalk.com. And we also want to thank Beatle Ed, who runs this show on fab4radio.com. And we can't thank him enough for his support too. So thank you. And he runs many of our individual shows too. So
yes, he does.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
And also thank you to all of our guests that we had on this year. So what?
And Mr. Ed.
And Mr. Ed. And thank you to all the wonderful guests that we had this past year. Just all the wonderful people we had on. Can't thank them enough. And again, thank all of you. We couldn't do this show without you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I'll just echo Kit's words there. Thanks to all of you for your support of this show and to our individual respective shows. And it means so much to all of us that you're here watching this show, whether you watch it live or later on in the week. Tell as many people as you can about us, because we really go in depth when it comes to the solo music of the Beatles. And we have a real passion for it, as you could probably tell. And we all have a blast working together. I love working with these guys. And I just,
thank you.
I just want to thank
you, Ken.
What's that?
Love working with you, Ken.
Okay. All right. So once again, I want to say thank you to all of you. And for Kit O'Toole, Tom Hunyadi, and Joe Mayo, I always end every single year saying these words. Well, first of all, have a happy new year. A wonderful Christmas time. Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Ding dong, ding dong. And we will see you all same time next year.
There you go. Perfect.
Take care.
Happy